Well, hi, today's devotion is John chapter 11. And if you've got this far, I just want to say well done. We're past the halfway mark. We're at the halfway mark. So that's excellent already. Now, John chapters 1 to 4 were sort of introductory. Who Jesus is, key conversations to establish his identity. Then chapters 5 through to 10 was this whole idea of the key festivals and how Jesus replaced different Jewish traditions and became what was important there. Look out for the Passover, that's coming, that's the big one. But chapter 11 is a shift. It's a shift in the story, and the shift is coming towards death and resurrection, and definitely starting to foreshadow what is about to come. And chapter 11 starts with a sign. The sign is the raising of Lazarus from the dead. Just a small sign, but a very significant sign because it foreshadows Jesus' death and resurrection. Now, this sign must have been very, very important enough to keep his dear friends in pain, to lose their loved one when they felt like Jesus could have come and healed him. He got the news and he could have got there, but he waited 2 more days and raised them from the dead. So you see in the story that there's parts of the story that are so similar to the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, particularly the section later on where it talks about the tomb, the stone being rolled away, the grave clothes, all starting to tell the story of Jesus, who himself would be raised from the dead. Very important statement. I call it the Christian verse, the funeral verse in verse 25. It says, Jesus says, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die." We already have him established as the life, but he takes this further, this idea of the resurrection and the life, and his ability to raise people from the dead, including Lazarus and including himself, and it's all coming. What is also interesting is verse 33, where it says there, when he sees Mary and Martha grieving and all the relatives and friends, it says he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Some versions say he was filled with indignation, which is common in the gospel stories, and others said he was filled with deep anger. Quite a common emotion for Jesus. What's this about? Why is he so upset? Well, of course he's upset. Someone's died. But more than that, it's the hopelessness of the grieving that is moving him. But also there's this sense of this being moved to action. He's moved in spirit and then he acts. We see that in other signs and other miracles in the Gospels. He's deeply moved, he's filled with indignation or anger, and then he acts out of that. And it's similar for us, passionately, when we feel moved by something, act with an expectation that you're carrying Jesus with you, and so on. And really quickly, just at the end, interesting stuff with the religious leaders is it freaks them out because they're thinking, if this keeps going and people believe in Jesus, we're going to lose our nation, we're going to lose our temple, because the Romans do not like Messiah figures at all. Their Caesar was the Messiah. And then one of the leaders says it's better for one to die for the people than the whole nation, and it's going to bring the people together. It's ironic because he didn't know really the meaning of Jesus' death and how his words were prophetic in a much larger way than what he said. But the whole relevance to this is this idea that Jesus is your life. Are you looking at him for this bigger picture and this bigger hope? Are you caught up in the things of this life and grieving and upset? Or are you caught up in the bigger picture? And are you moved like Jesus was to act upon people and help them?